Welcome into Rounding the Bases.
Round the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg. It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Rounding the Bases, presented by Community America Credit Union, invested in you. Shout out to my friends at Chief of Staff, Kansas City. And you don't have to be in Kansas City. You could be in St. Louis, like my guest, anywhere around the country. But if you're in the search for a job, looking to hire someone, or just a good resource, I do so much with Chief of Staff here in town, a lot of events and culture, and they're great people. They care. So if you're interested, check them out, chiefofstaffkc.com, making connections that matter. I believe that my guest today had been introduced to me a couple of times, most recently through a connection through my very, very good friend, Dr. Michelle Robin, and she is always putting good out into the world. And you could say the same about my guest today. And actually not that anybody at home knows this, but we're running a little bit behind in the interview because he and I were catching up on this and that, and we went off onto a baseball tangent. And I mean, he's in St. Louis. Why wouldn't we go off on a baseball tangent? But we'll get right to it right now, as I'm joined by a guest whose epic story of survival has motivated millions to wake up and truly live. His name is John O'Leary, a man who, at just 9 years old, defied overwhelming odds after suffering burns on 100% of his body. What could have been the end of his story became the beginning of an extraordinary journey. Today, John is a beloved keynote speaker, best-selling author, and the inspiration behind the upcoming motion picture Soul on Fire. I can't wait to see this. Through his message, he reminds audiences that every day is a gift and that each of us has the power to succeed one action at a time. I got to be honest, I'm asked or connect with a ton of speakers that sometimes are good guests for this podcast, sometimes aren't. I want to try to help and promote everybody. Of course, you can only do so much. I don't know that John needs the promotion, although you should go check out the movie when it comes out and his books. I'm not just inspired, but I love talking to speakers that I can look up to, that I see doing what they're doing all over the country, all over the world. And so without having met John really until today, he's been someone that I've been watching from a distance, and I'm happy to have John here with me right now. Upcoming movie, everything else that's going on. You're a busy man. John, how are you?
I'm still singing the rap song, Everybody Knows Joel Goldberg.
Yeah,
so
sorry about that.
I can't get it out of my head, man. It's going to be with me tonight when I'm tucking the kids in.
Oh.
But Joel, we knew each other when you were in St. Louis working, and now we get to know each other again as you are on the other side of the state. So, man, it's good to be home with you.
It is, and we got to solving all the baseball world's problems, and I thought we should probably get going and share some of these conversations with everyone. I know you've told your story a million times, and thank goodness for your story, because you've helped so many people with it, and I know it's become your life's work. But in your wildest dreams, could you ever imagine that this would take its way to the big screen?
No, and probably when you interview players, if you ask them when they were little, did you really think that they would become players for the Royals or the Cardinals or any other team? It maybe in the back of their mind they dreamed it, but the reality of how difficult it is to become reality, it's impossible, which means it's a miracle. So I just feel so blessed to have survived the fire when I was 9, to have found beauty in the scars when I was in my late 20s, to find this career that I'm living in now as a speaker and writer. And then for Hollywood to take an interest in this, which is, it's a little bit of a burn story. It's a little bit of a love story. It's a little bit of a baseball story. It's a lot of a life story of how the difficult things we face don't have to negatively define the futures we get to live into. And so, man, I'm blown away by all of it. And I'm grateful they're telling this story now.
And I think you're this way too. And just very briefly getting to know you, that, I'm blown away by everybody's stories, because everybody has a story, right? I mean, it just happens that yours was very, very dramatic and will make for a compelling and inspirational movie. But everybody, if you dig deep enough, has a story. But it's another side to have the gift of sharing that story and to be able to take it and make people's lives better. At what point did you realize along the way, like, was it when you got on stage? Was it before that wait a minute, this moment in my life that could have taken my life, that was so horrifying, and oh, by the way, you're just 9 years old. At what point does that become a gift?
Well, it's not when you're 9 and you're going through it. And it's not when you wake up 2 months later with your fingers amputated. And it's not when you're going through therapy or bandage changes or the works, man. So it was not when I was a kid. It was not when I came home from the hospital. It was not when they had John O'Leary Day at the ballpark at Busch Stadium, #2. It wasn't when I went off to school or college, man. For me, if you're asking like for a turning point, and I know like we play baseball in a secular world, but I'm in the back row of a church service. This is where it happened. And this pastor says, for those of you who feel like you've got no talent, listen to me. Your life is a precious gift. You got one job, say yes to being used for good. And so this 29-year-old nobody writes that down in my journal that night. I go to work the following day, Joel, and I get a call from a girl who says, Mr. John, will you speak at my school?
Hmm.
And I'd never told anybody how I got burned. I never thought there was beauty in the scars. But on a challenge that I heard a day before to say yes, I offered that word back. 2 weeks later, I speak to this group of Girl Scouts. There's only 3 in the room, man. So this is not a big broadcast. It's not a big payday. Was not paid a box of Samoas for the effort. So we're not exactly killing it, man. This is not George Brett, okay?
Right.
But I said, yeah. And then in the room that day, there was a man who was a Rotarian. And he said, would you speak in my Rotary Club?
Oh.
And then in that room, there was someone from Kiwanis, and then a Chamber of Commerce, and then a prison. And so along the way, this awkward, introverted burn survivor kept saying yes to the next audience. And as you know, because you're also a speaker, every time you speak, someone comes up to you afterwards and they say something like, Joel or John, it's not like your story, but. And when you hear that enough, you begin to recognize you're not in the business of speaking. You're in the business of doing life with people. You're in the business of providing hope, of bringing them forward in their life. And so for me, Joel, like the start of embracing the story began when I was 29. You're interviewing me today. I'm 48. I never would have imagined I would have spoken 2,700 times or had a couple books out or had this film done about my life. But I do know that the God is big, that he works through broken people, and that when we share our stories, it empowers people to share theirs.
There's so much, like everything you're saying right now is a message I've been receiving lately about the power of giving. And whatever that could mean too, right? I was listening to a meditation this morning. People now hear me a lot. I can't believe it. Like, hear me a lot on this podcast refer to meditation. It's not anything I ever did in the past, and now I can't start my day without it. But the message that I heard this morning was that there are so many different ways to give. It might just be a compliment to someone. It could be offering help. It could be offering your speaking services or a solution. And it doesn't have to be transactional. It doesn't have to result in business. And there's so much power when you understand that what that giving can do. And hey, great, if you get paid along the way for it. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. This isn't a matter of give away all of your stuff for free. This is about having a giving heart and giving it forward. And it just keeps paying itself back, doesn't it, John?
Well, since you know my story, you recognize that one of the individuals who saved my life was not a nurse, although they did, or not a doctor, although they did, or a parent, although they did, or a first responder, although they did. Maybe the most important person in my story is a radio announcer named Jack Buck. And even the friends who wear royal blue probably recognize and appreciate the voice of Jack Buck.
How could you not? Yeah.
I mean, 49 years, I think, as a broadcaster, 7 Hall of Fames, great leader, great voice, great broadcaster, and yet better person, better giver.
Yeah.
He learned the night I was burned that I was dying in a hospital. And by the way, we had not met each other before. And I'm not a person of notoriety at age 9. I'm a nobody. And he went out to visit me that first day, that first evening, leaves a charity fundraiser to go visit a stranger in a hospital in St. Louis County. Walks in, sits down next to me and says, into my darkness, because my eyes were swollen shut at the time, he says, "Kid, wake up. Wake up. You are going to live. You're going to survive. Keep fighting. John O'Leary Day at the ballpark will make it all worthwhile. Keep fighting." And he's told that night, Joel, that I'm going to die. And yet this man comes back the following day and visits again and encourages again and serves again. And it is a long, beautiful story. But that man came into my life during the 5 months that I was in hospital and never told a soul what he was doing.
Yeah.
He then picks me up at a Lincoln Town car, takes me downtown in August. We have John O'Leary Day at the ballpark, introduces me to all the ball players, puts me on the radio that night. Doesn't tell a soul, though, what he's really doing. He learns that I can't hold anything with my broken hands, man. I don't have fingers. So he starts sending me baseballs. Each baseball with a note that read, "Kid, if you want a second baseball, write a thank you letter." And at the end of that summer, 1987, Cards go on to the World Series. Jack sends a nobody named John 60 baseballs, teaching a 10-year-old now that his life has value. So you talk about like the power of giving. Man, he wasn't doing this for social media or influence. He did it because he could.
Yeah.
And in doing so, he changed the life of a person named John, but also the life of someone else named Jack. And that's the way giving always works.
Right.
It's never, you mentioned a kind word. Yeah, perfect. A kind word never returns hollow, though. Your love of someone else always impacts 2 lives, minimum. So I hear you when you say I've been challenged lately to be more generous with my life. I think we all should listen to that prodding and then do something with it.
I'm going to briefly share a story that I hope does not come off as, I mean, I sit there and I think about the spirit of Jack Buck and you know, I don't know if he would share my story if he was in my shoes, because the point is not to be, you know, the point is not to pound my chest over it and say, hey, look at what I did.
Right.
But I wrote about this in my most recent book because I'm talking about it some on stage because I feel like if it can give some other people hope and catch their attention, along with honoring, you know, someone that was lost. But one of the beautiful things about this job, my job, is that I get to meet the young John O'Learys of the world. And I'm not talking about they have to be in a hospital or anything. I mean, last night I'm sitting in Chicago as you and I are recording this, talking to fans in the stands that were so excited for this one moment to be able to chat with me. And my buddy was down there visiting and he goes, man, you got a gift for putting a smile on people's faces. And I thought, no, you're just being nice. That's it. Right. And so, but anyway, over the years, I got to meet this kid named Noah Marker, who was born with a disability, in a wheelchair for life, and was studying to be a journalist. And he loved, I mean, I met him at a baseball clinic that they had at Kauffman Stadium. You know, a lot of kids in wheelchairs and with different disabilities. And so we went out and did a little story on it. And I interviewed him, and he was probably, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 years old at the time.
Right.
And we stayed in touch. You know, he would message me on Twitter and private message back and forth all the time. Anyway, fast forward to 2 years ago, and he's out at the game one night, and he had the night before they've been rained out. They were about to get rained out. He private messaged me, hey, is this game going to get rained out tonight? I want to save my family from coming out there. His brother's also in a wheelchair. So, you know, I mean, they got to get the kids in the van and everything. And I said, you know what, it's not public yet. But at this point, he's studying to be a journalist. He's commuting to Mizzou, actually, from Kansas City with his parents. And he says, he says, I want to help my family. I said, well, I'll give you the inside scoop here, but you can't go public with it. The game has been postponed. It probably won't be announced for another 30 minutes. He thanked me. He came back the next day with his family instead. 2 days later, I get handed a note by a random person, and he had passed away. And I read it right before we went on the air for our pregame show, which was obviously a mistake on my part, and reached out to the guy that had handed me the note with his phone number on it to confirm. And it was just unexpected death. He was such a sweet kid. And the family reached out to me. A week later, I'm walking through New York and Manhattan, and then the dad said, I know you're busy, but the celebration of life's going to be next week. You guys are in town. Would you be willing to be a pallbearer?
Wow.
And I thought, are you kidding me? Of course. And like, that's so much bigger than baseball.
Good, yes.
And I did have this, you know, beautiful relationship with him. We weren't like close, but like, you know, he knew he could reach out to me. And John, when I walked in, it was a high school auditorium, And his mom makes a beeline for me right as the service is about to start and says, I want you to come say goodbye to him. And I'm not great with open coffins, but of course I wasn't going to say no. And right as I walk up, she says, he wanted to be you. And I don't know that I needed more inspiration to do what I do, but that was it right there.
Amen, man.
So like, I share that story not because look at me. I share that story because we all need to understand we don't need to be John O'Leary. We don't need to be in front of a television camera or on a stage. That every one of us can make an impact every single day. I'm going to get off my soapbox, but I know that is your heart every single day too.
So first of all, what a brilliant, tragic, redemptive story.
Yeah.
And one of the cool things about it is, and take this the right way, in some regards, what you did for him is not that impressive. You know, I mean, you were kind of nice to him. You texted him back. You brought him on the field. Like, this isn't hard, man. And we've made generosity so hard and so heroic when we do it, and we put it all over social media. Like, look at me. And what the best among us have always done, and what they've always did do in the past, in particular the great giants, man, looking backward, is they just loved. They just loved the one in front of them. They did it authentically. It's why they have baseball fans for generations. I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret. Baseball's sometimes boring. So how do you stomach 3 hours in a Kansas City hot Kauffman Stadium? Because it's about connecting ultimately to the people around you, and then generationally. It's this generational drumbeat that connects us to our past and our future in mighty ways. And if it is only about executing on the field perfectly and sabermetric, like, it becomes boring. We've taken the humanity out of it. But when it becomes about a kid in a wheelchair who wants to be a journalist and wants to be Joel, and you love him and you encourage him and you get back to him, you've got a fan for life.
Yeah.
And I think that's true in baseball, but your podcast is bigger than baseball. It's true in life. That's your job.
Yeah.
Love people. It's not that hard. It's free.
Yeah, it is free. And you know, the other reason why I love to tell that story is, one, you know, I get to keep Noah's name alive. So that's a gift that I get with this platform. And it's just such a beautiful family and such a big fan of baseball. And two, like you mentioned too, like, you know, this didn't just help John, this helped Jack. What I got out of it, I wish I didn't, but what I got out of it, like that fulfillment is living with me every single day. And again, I bring it up because that's all it takes. But you get to do it and get on stage too. And I know you have this down. They're all different, right? I mean, every speech is different, but when you do it enough and you have enough reps, you've experienced all of it in some form or another. What do you get? I know what you give. What do you get when you're on stage?
So I'm an introvert, meaning I don't like podcasts. Right?
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you're welcome. You owe me. Please cut the check to John O'Leary.
Okay.
There's an apostrophe. I don't like the bright light of stage performance. I don't like green rooms. I don't like mic checks. I don't like travel. And I love being with my family, which means I don't like being away from them. So, like, in other words, I hate almost everything about the career I've ended up doing for my life. So then what is it that you get, man? Here's what I get. Afterwards, every single time I go to the back of the room, and my job is not to sell books, it's to love people. And experience after experience, I get to meet all these Noahs, man, who come up to me, and they almost always begin with the sentence, John, it's nothing like your story, but, and then they talk about the diagnosis. They talk about bipolar. They talk about the bankruptcy. They talk about the divorce. They talk about the Dick-Incher call in 1985 and how their heart still is on the table from that. Like, whatever they want to talk about, fine. They talk about it. But I have an opportunity of having this uniquely human connection and then walking forward with them afterwards. We have the podcast, and we've got newsletters and books and all this stuff to love people. There's an author I love, Joel. His name is Henry Nouwen. And Nouwen writes, what is most private and personal is most universal and sacred. So the very thing that you think is uniquely your trash pit, once it's redeemed and you're able to share it for others, so you're not sharing it for ego. That's important. But when you're able to share the whole of your heart with others, they're able to go along for the ride in powerful ways. So, man, our work, when we do it right, is not about leadership training or selling baseball tickets or information. It's about healing people. And in that, they can become better leaders. In that, they can become more rabid as Royals fans or Cardinal fans. But we're in the business of loving people, and somehow we find ourselves being paid to do it. So I'm blown away by that fact.
Yeah, me too. I was just the kid at 7 years old, 8 years old, that was interrupting first and second grade, trying to give updates on the previous night's baseball game. And my teacher would complain about that. That's one of my opening lines when I get on stage, because, how many people in the audience knew that they would be in this spot doing exactly what they were doing. Oh, by the way, I didn't dream of hosting podcasts, talking to you, getting on stage and speaking. I just loved sports. That was it, just like you did growing up. And I got to talk about it. That the sweet spot in all of this, no matter what we're doing, is when we find that purpose, that something that brings meaning to what we're doing. And again, you don't need to be on a stage or in front of a television camera traveling the country talking about a baseball game to be able to find that. It took me a long time to figure it out as well. I want to get back to the movie and to the part about being introverted, because it's just more and more and more, which is great. It's more people that you're touching. It's more people you are going to get to now inspire and touch people that may never even see you on stage, but are going to see you on the big screen. I mean, the magnitude of this thing too. My lighthearted question to that, and then we'll get to the serious, is, what do your kids think?
Here's the best part about my kids. They are so underwhelmed by their dad.
Yeah.
They are unimpressed, rightly so. They know me. They whoop me up in backyard games of basketball, in ping pong, in pool, whatever we're playing, they kill me. My kids at one point were cute. Now they are all like little men. I have 4 kids and they're all teenagers. So, man, I'm raising this den of wolves who do not own shirts in the summertime. But also here's what they're really recognizing, because almost everywhere we go, and this is not only in St. Louis, but now it's national, people come up and they say hi to me, and then they share their story. So what they're recognizing immediately throughout it all is that dad's story is not about him. It's about others. And I used to have to tell them that, like, I'm on the road for them. But now they're seeing it firsthand, and they're seeing the letters that come into the mailbox, and they're getting the emails, and they're hearing this from others. So what do they think about their dad? They are unimpressed by him, but they're overwhelmed, I think, by how this story is being used to remind people of the power within their lives. That's awesome. So my kids had zero interest in the film being done, obviously. My wife has still zero interest in the film being done. But once they started rolling, and once you hear the word action, and you see 500 people behind a camera and 2 people in front of it, man, it's a circus. And circuses attract people, right? So my kids were attracted to this. They recognized that this is a moment in time. Don't blink. So they would bring friends on set. And I think when you're showing your buddies that your dad does something that most others don't, it's just a cool way to connect with, well, what's it really about? And let me say it to you this way. When they did the poster for the film Soul on Fire, they had an actor who portrays me named Joel Courtney with his arms in the air, like, I'm a stud, hear me roar. So I wrote him back and I'm like, guys, I think that's the wrong focus. So when Sony redid the poster, they flipped Joel around. They turned him into a shadow, and then they made it ultimately a mosaic. So in every inch of this movie poster, you see scenes from throughout the film of people who showed up for him, that allowed that kid to survive a fire. That's part of it. Allowed that young boy to start seeing beauty in the reflection. You'll find out in the film, eventually even having an opportunity of speaking to the St. Louis Cardinals, throwing out the first pitch, living his life well because of others, because of their work, because of their grace, because of their love. And so all the things we touch today, Joel, aren't about glorifying us. It's drawing people into recognize, going back to your earlier question, the work you do, the kindness you offer others can save a life. And it might be yours you save.
Yeah. It's oh, that just left me speechless, which doesn't happen very often, by the way. But I was just thinking about the benefits on all sides of that. And by the way, I so relate to your kids. Not that I've ever been in a movie or featured in a movie or had a movie about me. However, having kids that were 2 and 5 when we left St. Louis and have grown up here in Kansas City and never known any other way than everybody asking them about their dad and the awkwardness of being, you know, a young teenager rolling your eyes to coming to actually appreciate it and understanding the responsibilities that come with it and everything that you've talked about, but also the normalcy of them just looking at me as dad and holding me. So like when you talked about, oh, now everybody knows Joel Goldberg, all this type of stuff. Do you know how many years that I've had that song for about 6 years now on this podcast, how many years I'd get the little snide comments from well, everybody knows Joel Goldberg, dad, you know, like that type of stuff. They keep me humble. They keep me in line. My son and daughter, who are now 20 and 22, and my wife are never going to allow me to be anything other than, you know, who they know me to be, which is truly one of the greatest gifts, right?
Totally. Anytime I mess up at home, which is daily, and certainly when I'm barbecuing each evening, I'm burning something or making it too raw. And then there's usually a reaction from John O'Leary. And my kids always say, like, oh, way to live with your soul on fire, Dad. Like giving me trouble for being the exact opposite of what I preach. Because they know me, man.
Yeah,
they know their dad, and thank God they do.
Well, and that's part of too, like the whole, I'm not maybe introverted, but I've become more introverted just because you're on so much and you got to find a way to recharge. And so there's comfort in going back home to the familiarity of those that truly know dad, right?
So isn't it cool to, and listen, I mean, we're all performative a little bit. I think you're very authentic on air. You were in St. Louis. I knew your work here. Yeah. I try to be radically authentic everywhere I am. Totally. And yet there's a different level when you push the button on the car, it parks, it's off. You open the garage door, you walk in, and you're home.
Yeah,
you're home. So, I say, people often ask me in podcasts, like, "Where's your favorite place, man? 50 states, dozens of countries. What's your number one?" And they're like, St. Louis. Yeah, that boring city in the Midwest with the arch and the sub 500 team this year. That's my favorite spot, man. Always. And if you're asking me what I think about best stadiums, dude, Kauffman is right up there with Fenway, with the Giant Stadium, with Pittsburgh. Kauffman is awesome. I know there's conversations about a new version. Fine, I get it. But from a baseball purist perspective, it is a great place to watch baseball.
And it's weird because when people ask me to rate my stadiums and favorites and all that, which is, I think, a fun question. That it's one of the questions that I get asked over and over again that I think is really fun because sometimes it even changes in my mind. It might be different for me than someone else because it also involves working conditions. What's the easiest place to work the hardest? Like I don't know sight lines from the seats. Food, concessions, but I always say, let me judge 29 of them and not Kauffman because it's my home. And so how could I compare everybody else's homes to mine? But Kauffman's beautiful. But it's home. And when I leave for a week or a week and a half, I go away and see the rest of the country. And then I get to come back home to Kauffman Stadium, which is a really, really cool thing. Real quick before my baseball themed questions, what'd you think when you watched the movie? What were those emotions like? And what did you think?
Well, so I'm up to view like number 92 right now. So it's like watching the same good baseball game again and again and again. So it's pretty wild how frequently I watch it. But even in view 92, I'm still laughing and crying, which is a positive sign. Let me answer it this way. There's so many heroes in the film, but one of them is my dad. When you see the film, you'll notice, but he helped save my life. He reminded me of the power of love. He offered so much grace throughout my journey forward in recovery. And he had Parkinson's disease for 30 years. So part of the story is this journey of a dad and a son around baseball and the dad's slow regression with Parkinson's. Well, I took my dad to see the film in May. We had a client who was going to buy 3,000 tickets, but they wanted to see the movie first. And so I took my mom and my dad, sat next to dad. He held my hand the whole time. My father could not speak anymore. But at the very end, as people are clapping, I leaned over and I said, hey, Dad, what do you think about your movie, man? Because in some regards, like this is his movie. Joel would be like a movie about your son being made. Yeah. Like it's your movie. Yeah. So he leaned back and whispered, what a gift. What a gift. Then we got up. He went home with my mom, He came down with a cough about 3 days later. He never recovered. And on May 30th, my father passed away.
Oh,
So the final words I heard my dad say to me were, "What a gift." And
wow.
now I look back on it, and I don't think he was like the first Siskel and Ebert of Soul on Fire. Like he's not, two thumbs up, man. What a gift. It was this life review, recognizing this terrifically tragic story. I mean, dude, it's a kid getting burned, time in hospital, movement forward, the story afterwards, ultimately this recovering, this redemptive journey arc. What a gift to recognize it ends with a standing ovation. And that's true in my life. And I think if we hang on long enough, it's true in all of our lives. So what do I think about the movie, man? Every time I see it, it moves me. But my hope for it is when people leave, they recognize the St. Louis Cardinals aren't the heroes. John's not the hero. Jack Buck's not the hero. Jack Buck. They are. Joel is. Your kids are. And the call, the opportunity is to leave the theater recognizing, dude, what a gift. What do I want to do with it?
Oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait to watch it. I really can't. And I believe the release date is October 10th, I believe, if I
Right.
correct
And
on that.
I mean, cool. Lots of the talent actually came from Kansas City. So several of the actresses who played my sisters are there. Some of the producers, a lot of like the background guys who are in charge of booms and sound,
Yeah.
because it's made in Missouri. So it is it's a celebration of our home. So I look forward to your folks checking it out.
Yeah. I want to encourage everybody to check it out as you're listening to this and get out there and see it. I'll be doing the same, or as you're listening to this, I may have already done so, but we're recording obviously in advance as I always do. All right. Baseball themed questions. What's the biggest home run that you have hit professionally in your career?
Dude, I mean, you could say like, I guess having a movie done is kind of
Yeah,
a
I
thing.
think so.
But I'm gonna go in a different direction. I'm an introvert. I struggle with self-worth, still do. I struggle with my own body reflection. Scars from my neck to my toes will do that to a guy.
Mm,
And the boldness of being invited to speak to 3 Girl Scouts in 3rd grade and say yes to them. Like that is, I think it's way more radical than having a movie done or being on podcasts or books or big old stages. To say yes that first time is radical.
mm.
So the biggest home run was the audacity to walk up to the plate, face the demon, and swing, man.
Do you still fight that?
Every day.
I figured.
Imposter syndrome, man.
Yeah.
Like I know what to do now. I know how to move an audience. I know how, like I know how to pull the string and roll. But every single time out, I'm the judgment I face is not your critics judging the film or my speaking performance or your podcast. It's the reflection in the mirror saying
Yep.
you're not enough.
Yep.
So like that is who I battle against. And then when I win, it's recognizing God's going to use it. Go, just go, man. Trust.
I asked you that question knowing the answer, even though I don't know you that well, because I mean, I go through the same stuff and most people do. And there's comfort in that. And there's comfort in knowing that that's just part of it. And that we battle ourselves more than anything else. And
So speaking to that, you work with athletes, so do I from time to time. When I spoke to the Cardinals, they all walked in, take this the right way, a little smug. No one really wants to be there. No one wants a leadership speaker in front of them. They know how to play ball. These are pros, man. They're stallions. Let us run. And then I do my thing. And an hour after it starts, it ends. And then there's this form of line that forms in the front of the room, wraps around the entire room of all these millionaire, prideful athletes ready to do their thing an hour ago. And now they're willing to put that on the back burner and talk life. And they cry and they share and they offer this truth that they struggle. And so we sit up in the stands and we look down at these overpaid athletes and we wonder, no, how do you swing at that one, man? It's low and outside. What are they doing? And we don't recognize he's a son. He's struggling with his girlfriend. The wife is thinking about walking out on him. He's making all kinds of mistakes on the road that don't show up on a box score. Like this stuff is life that we're talking about. And so the cool thing about your work, Joel, and my work is we get to remind people that it's bigger than that. Mm-hmm. It's bigger than that. So for those of us looking down at those who we feel have made it, Let me tell you something. They haven't. The GM of the Royals and the Cardinals struggles with self-worth. The star pitcher and prospects struggle with self-worth. Usually attitude is the personification that they actually feel like they're not enough.
Yeah.
That's what that actually is.
Yeah.
So when you get a whisper of it, just recognize what's really going on there. They need to be loved.
Yeah. I've yet to meet a Major League Baseball manager that doesn't go back to their hotel room or their home when the team is at home and overthink and beat themselves up over every little decision, and then they put on that good face to show confidence and all of that. So yeah, I think about it all the time. I'm lucky enough. I believe that my role in doing what I do as a reporter and a host is humanizing everybody and telling their stories. And then sometimes, one of the best compliments that I get, John, is when it happened the other day, a parent or a grandparent is in town to watch their son or on the road, and hear these grandparents as we're walking out of the stadium in Chicago, pointing and looking at me and my broadcast partner, because they watch us every night. They're in their 70s or whatever they're at, and they watch us every night from California, and they just wanted to thank us for being fair.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, it doesn't take much. Like what you said before, it doesn't take much. Maybe I can go, get a sports radio talk show and beat the heck out of everybody if I want to do that, but that's just not my style. So anyway, we all have a chance to make an impact, as we keep saying. How about a swing and a miss along the way, and what did you learn from it?
I guess it's this. Years into my work, I went on to autopilot. So about 10 years in, I got bored by me, and I was just doing the reps. I guess kind of burnout or just kind of done with me. And then I remember bumping into a quote from Frank Sinatra that the reason he performed the way he did is it might be the first or last time when someone was seeing him perform. And that little like push changed the way I viewed the work, which changed the way I delivered the message, which completely changed the way I loved the audience afterwards. For me, Joel, it's not about selling speeches or books or movie tickets. All of the work is about doing relationship with people one-to-one. I hire employees so we can live mission out afterwards. Like all I really want to do is, I'm a hospital chaplain by training. Like one-to-one is where the work is done. And it's not about evangelizing. It's about meeting people and serving them and loving them. Talking about ice cream and the Royals. Like that's all you do as a chaplain.
So good.
And that's what I want to do as a speaker or as an author or as a guy with this film coming out. So the swing and the miss was being bored by my life. And luckily for me, it was a foul tip, and I had a chance to swing again.
Oh, I love that. I love it so much. Just, I'm inspired by all of it. So I'm processing it all as we're kind of speaking live and taking it all in and as ways to motivate myself too. So your work is affecting me as well, for whatever that is worth. The final of the baseball themed questions, and then I got 4 quick ones to wrap it up, is small ball. I don't need to explain to you. My guest that I had recorded before you and I recorded was out of South Africa, and I thought, okay, I got to figure out how to explain small ball here. I do not need to explain small ball, whitey ball, any of that to you, other than I love to describe it as, what are the little things that make you better, that lead to big results? What's small ball for you?
So first of all, I had a college roommate who was from France, and explaining baseball to someone not from the US or Canada or I guess Japan or places where they may have grown up with it, it's almost impossible. So don't even try, man. Explaining like why sometimes you walk to first base and other times sprint, like it's all so confusing. So small ball for me, I think keeping the main thing. I start at home early. I get up before I need to. I'm scripturally like trying to grow in my faith walk. I have a gratitude journal. I start the day with my tank full, which equips me all day long to empty it out into others. And then importantly, not expecting anything in return. I'm not trying to get anything from you, Joel, in this podcast. I'm not trying to get anything from clients when they have me speak. I'm trying to meet people where they are. And then if you do that authentically, passionately, and effectively, they fall in love with it and with you, and they'll support you. They'll push you forward. But they'll also smell if you're doing it for self-preservation or promotion.
Yep.
So I first fill my bucket and then spend my day emptying into others.
Makes sense. Resonates. Great small ball there. 4 final questions as we round the bases. The first one, to have your oldest son carry on the name of Jack from one of your heroes, Jack Buck, who, by the way, is one of the nicest human beings anybody ever met. I'm not saying anything that anybody else didn't say. To be a young broadcaster in St. Louis, and this was his final couple of years, and I was at his funeral like everybody else there, which was like, the loss of a father, a grandfather. And I didn't grow up in St. Louis, but
Right.
but to be a young broadcaster that had started there, was new there, and to have him walk by me in the halls at Old Busch Stadium and say, "Kid, you're doing a great job. I love watching you every night." I thought, you know who I am?
It's amazing.
Really? To have your son carry on that name, what does it mean?
It means two things. The first is when he sees a failure in his dad, he'll have a success in his name right. So that, to me, that is really important. So I wanted him to know that. And secondly, then understanding what that name right meant. Like, what does the name Jack really mean? And when Jack Buck passed away, and your listeners in Kansas City vaguely know of him, I'm sure, the great calls, we'll see you tomorrow night, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they may not know the heart of Jack. When he passed away, KMOX, his station, opened up the airways for 3 hours of call in with how he influenced your life. And I don't know how many stories you would have of the Noahs of the world you've influenced, maybe a bunch. But John O'Leary does not have 3 hours. They opened it up for 3 hours, commercial free. It went on for 3 days.
Yep.
24 hours a day of folks around the Midwest and around the country calling in and saying, man, this is one of the stories. I was in an airport in LaGuardia getting ready to pay for the pizza. And then I hear from behind me that the voice say, I'll cover his tab, kid. And it's just random acts of love. Jack Buck showing up for some random New Yorker, man. Not even a Cardinal fan, a freaking Mets fan of all things.
Didn't matter.
Did not matter. This kid grew up in the Great Depression, served his nation, picked up a Purple Heart, came home and recognized, I've got the greatest gig in life, man. I get to talk about baseball all day long. And when I'm not doing that, I'm going to serve in the community. So he made it his life's work. He did it extraordinarily well. And Jack changed my life in mighty ways. When you see the film, because we're talking about a few of the things he did, you will be blown away by what this guy did. He never told a soul, not even Joe, not even Carol, his wife, never told a soul. He gave because he could.
Yeah. I'm not surprised at all. That was Jack Buck, and one of a kind. There are plenty of others with that heart, by the way, too. I look at like Milwaukee and Brewers fans lost Bobby Uecker this year. Totally different personality, but that's one where you don't need to explain to anyone up there who he is or the impact that he had on people's lives. And they're just, Vin Scully the same way in Los Angeles, where it's just, this wasn't the loss of this was the loss of someone more than just a beloved figure. This was the loss of someone that was in everyone's house for generations. So I'll move just to explain the power of that. And, I can make any comparisons or analogies in terms of the magnitude, but think of someone that everybody loves. It's hard for everybody to love somebody. Everybody loved Jack Buck. And some of it was for the reasons that you're explaining. Some of it was that he was just an amazing announcer, and all the rest of it. Okay, second question as we round the bases. I'll just go lighthearted because these are the stupid things that pop in my heads. Are Samoa's your favorite Girl Scout cookie, and why didn't they give you anything? They should have at least given you like one box.
It's so beautiful. I'm glad you asked that. Samoa's by far are the only Girl Scout cookie truly worthy of investing $17 a box in. So yes, they remain. In fact, for your listeners, if you're just trying to do the right thing, don't go to the movie. Save your money. Send O'Leary Samoas, and we'll call it even. Okay. So yes, I love Samoas. I loved them back then. It's occasionally a joke I'll talk about, like from the stage, and
I didn't know that, by the way. You just dropped the Samoas line, and I'm like, that's my favorite.
It's hilarious, man. But occasionally I'll bring it up, and frequently my clients will send me these random purple boxes of Samoas. Yes. And my kids and I will rip open into them. Yes.
I don't even care if sometimes it's the name change depending on the location, whatever they call it.
You know that there's another name for them, like coconut.
There's something delights or something like that.
Coconut delight, maybe.
I really don't care as long as they don't change what they taste like, and whether that be out of the box or frozen. I don't care. I love them. Okay, that was a tangent that I was not expecting, but sometimes we go to fun places like that, and it's good. All right. Third question as we round the bases: is there anywhere that you haven't spoken that you want to speak? You talked about the best place being home, to come home, the best place to travel, but you've had the opportunity to travel all over the world, which means that you get to inspire people from all different cultures and all different backgrounds. Where's somewhere you'd like to go?
So I'm going to put this out there. I had a chance of speaking with the Savannah Bananas last weekend in Savannah, and if you've been to a game, the baseball purists will hate them. And I truly understand where that's coming from. And yet they filled up Busch Stadium, 47,000 2 days in a row, and had 90,000 waitlisted. So something's happening, and it's more than music, and it's more than the goofy dances. These guys are loving the crowd in ways, candidly, MLB has forgotten.
Yes.
NASCAR knows how to do this. Savannah Bananas know how to do this. Baseball forgot. And we think it's heroic when you see the third baseman show up one time in a hospital, pass out baseball cards, and then go to work. There was a time where the cameras weren't following those guys. They just did it. And I'm sure many of the guys still do. Here's my hope. I would love to speak to 30 Major League Baseball teams in spring training and talk to them about what success looks like that year. Yes, boys, strive for the top of the line, man. 300 batting average, 400 on, fine, go for it. Go for first place. Go for the trophy at the end of it all. But understand ultimately what real success and significance looks like. They will forget, trust me on this one, the wins you put into the box column. They will forget it. They will forget that base hit that drove in the winning run. They will. They will never forget, as you talked about with Noah, the way you made them feel. And any fool can do that.
Yep.
You are doing it, Joel. John O'Leary's doing it. Jack Buck did it. Many of my friends who are in Major League are doing it right now. Can you imagine, though, if we got 30 teams to understand what it's actually about? Because right now, in St. Louis, certainly, but around the country, I think there's a chance to fill these stadiums a little bit more so. Yeah. There's a chance to draw forward a nation to one thing that actually connects us, because apparently it's not politics. Who knew? No. But what if it was baseball? Yeah. And what if you found love, not with a game that sometimes goes a little slow or it's a little hot or a little dry, but it's a chance to sit next to your dad and talk. I just lost my dad. Dang it, I wish I had another chance. Yeah. But what if you could have that with your kid or a business friend or the guy behind you who's wearing a Pirates jersey and you resent him like I did last night? Dude, it's a chance to come together. Yeah. But we will not, if our guys who are playing don't love us before we come in. So I would love a chance not to speak at Mount Rushmore or Air Force One or whatever else. I want a chance to speak to baseball players about baseball. Yeah.
It's so much more impactful than sometimes they realize, and sometimes they realize it too late. And I didn't say it before, but I'll say it now because, I'm sorry for your loss with your dad. I can't tell you how much it means a lot when you mention it and you love baseball, because I can't tell you how many people I hear from that'll say some version of, I have so many memories with my dad. Totally. That involved you. Woo. That involved the Royals, that involved watching your broadcast. And by you, they're not saying Joel Goldberg. They're saying, you guys were part of it. That's and right. I miss having those moments with him. So all those people that had those moments listening to the radio, listening to Jack Buck, and Harry Carey and everybody beforehand. So that's just, again, a reminder. And I want to walk it off with this. I know we went long, but, and again, remind everybody to check out the movie coming out October 10th, theaters near you, Soul on Fire, the book as well. But somebody's sitting somewhere, maybe they'll listen to this. Somebody's sitting somewhere that just went through something that they now have to come to grips with. I wear this red bracelet, which is for my friend Sarah with ALS, and I've written about her in both of my books. And her life could have turned for the worse when she was diagnosed in her late 20s with ALS, former police officer, and it's become better because of all the lives she's impacted. And so someone is going to have an opportunity at a time where they don't think they're ever going to have an opportunity again. What do you tell that person? I'm ending on a high note, John.
Well, I love it. For the answer, you already know it. Hopefully your audience wrote it down. The word is yes. So when you get the opportunity, the answer is yes. Whether it's 3 Girl Scouts or it's Kauffman Stadium or it's Busch or it's 8 people in line who are just struggling with something, the answer of service is yes. But I think you're asking a deeper question, John. When someone is struggling, what's your advice? Yep. As you cross home plate, it's 2 things. As a chaplain, which is one of my jobs, you don't fix it, dude. So the last thing I would say to someone who lost their job as a police officer is, dude, you need to get over that and find the next chapter. It is time. I would never, ever say that. I would love that amazing officer right where she was. I wouldn't judge the anger or the disappointment or whatever else he, whatever they were feeling. I would love them. So that's the first thing. I'm with you. I would tell them my website, man, visit me online. We have people to support you and love you. Like, that's why I'm out there, JohnO'LearyInspires.com. Go there. We're here to serve and support and pray. So if you need something, reach out. But then I would end with, at some point, my dad had a conversation with me. It's not in the film and it's not in a book. So Joel, it's on your podcast. I hated the fact that I got burned, and I hated the fact they were making me go back to school. And I hated the fact that this thing happened to me. So I kept saying, why me? And finally, my amazing dad, who taught me how to throw a baseball and taught me how to live afterwards, he says to me as he shuts the bedroom door, comes back and he says, John, dang it, why not you? The terrible thing has happened. And if you want to spend the rest of your life as a victim to it, have at it. No one will blame you. You've been through the worst. And then he said, or you can choose to be a victor. You can choose to rise up and use it for good. And in every room we roll you into, or maybe, man, one day you might walk into, people will look up in awe at what you've overcome and how you lead your life. And then he leans forward and says, John, victim or victor, your choice, not mine. And he kissed me and he walked out. So Joel, to your friend who's a police officer, to you and your kids, to your listeners, and to John O'Leary, who's given the advice and needs to heed it. That's it, man. At some point when we are done grieving, at some point, don't rush it, but at some point when you're ready to get up and fight forward for the next day, victim or victor, you have that choice. And what a gift it is when you recognize you have agency to decide what the next step is in your journey.
Might be the best advice that I've heard in the 8 years of doing this podcast, and it applies to everyone, victim or victor. And the beauty of it is it's about to get so much bigger, because all these people that are going to watch this movie are going to be inspired. The website, if you want to learn more, I know what John would say. It's not about hiring him. If you want inspiration, if you want to learn more, whether it be through a speaking podcast, blog, everything, JohnO'LearyInspires.com. We'll have it in the show notes. If you want more on the movie, which is easy to find, but soulonfiremovie.com. John, so good to be able to spend this time with you. I am so inspired, so moved. I'm ready to take on the day, sleep deprived, and all of that type of stuff. But more significantly than today, just big picture. So much here, so much wisdom, so much inspiration, so much good. And I know you'll keep doing that. Keep loving on those kids. They're the most important. I don't need to tell you that. And I'm so glad that you carved out the time amidst this busy schedule to be on Rounding the Bases.
Man, Joel, I love your work. I love your heart. I love your story of Noah. And I love the Royals. I'm one of the weird guys that thinks you can have an AL and an NLT team.
Fair.
I wear red when I'm on the east side of the state and dark blue when I'm on the west side of the state. One of your owners of the team is a friend of mine, Mike Trigg, an amazing human being who just serves. So, man, I love this podcast and I love what you're for. So thank you for bringing me on.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate you.
It's around the bases. Everybody knows Joe Goldberg.